I do an array of things. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I empower women to be their beautiful selves through my company, Bella Lux. I also empower people with disabilities through my app and organization, Empower Society. I am the Empower and Manifest Queen out here in these streets. I speak words of life into people. They have manifested. Ask somebody that knows me. I am that person. When you call me and you say, hey, I need words of encouragement. This is going down. This is happening. I am that person. What else? That's pretty much the gist of me. I'm not to be put in a box. I'm outside of the box. I am, I'm educated. I love music. I can be ratchet, all of those different things. I love God, all of that. So I'm just not in the box type of person. I'm not that person. But what I have started is these conversations, Crown to Tiara, are conversations basically that the older generation should be imparting into the younger generation. So I took it upon myself to start doing that. These conversations, some are life conversations, so it's not necessarily just from the older generation to the younger generation, but these are community conversations as well. So this week we're talking about understanding the strong woman. And how I came up with this topic is, of course, it was inspired by Mother's Day. And plenty of us, went out, bought all of these things to appreciate our mothers and the women in our lives. But do we do these things on a regular basis? Probably not. We do it once a year. Have we taken the time to understand, their struggles, the things that they face on a daily basis? Have we actually thought about those things? So this is where that derived from. I was sitting back thinking about all of the things that, my mom has done in her lifetime, what my grandmothers have done in their lifetimes, and my great-grandmothers. And the one thing that is common between all of them is they demonstrated these strong characteristics, which has carried down to me, where I take a lick and just keep going. And that's a part of the stereotype of the strong woman. And so it has been embedded in us to deal with situations and to keep it moving, to function, to nurture, to do all of these things and perform, and not even think twice about ourselves, right? And so it is and has become difficult because now it's starting to be dysfunctional, and we are not able to get along with each other. It's been demonstrated publicly when we watch these different television shows, even in our own relationships in our families and our relationships with the opposite sex and just relationships in general. There's been a imbalance because we are wearing so many hats and told to still operate as if nothing else is going on in our lives except for whatever we have to execute. And so now women are saying, it's too much. I need self-care. I need to decompress. I need time to myself. So we're learning how to be healthier. A lot of us are doing it through therapy and different things. But why haven't these things been discussed? Well, looking back, this was not something that our grandmothers sat and talked about. Like, they just did what they did. They just took care of the family. My grandmothers, they worked. And they didn't complain about, needing time to themselves or vacations and all of these different things. They just kept going. But were they really happy? Did they really feel like they accomplished something, or was it just something that they were performing? From my perspective, it was a performance, because they didn't get the opportunity to say, well, I need to take a step back. It was like, as long as they were putting out, everybody was happy. Nobody questioned anything, and they just had to keep up. And so I don't think that they necessarily got to live full lives, because their lives were about performing and being that strong woman that can juggle all of these different things, can take care, hey y'all, take care of the family, take care of their husbands, do what they needed to do on their jobs, whatever else it was. If it was taking in the neighborhood kid that was troubled or whatever, imparting wisdom into all of these different people, but then not taking care of themselves and making sure that they were full. So I just wanted to have this conversation and make it an open conversation. So if you have anything that you would like to add, you can drop it in the comments. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is the differences between girls and boys in general. So as children, girls, and boys pretty much operate the same until it comes to a certain point in time where the girls get their menstrual cycles. So now, and this actually happens, for me, it happened at 9. And so at that time, I was told, hey, I'm a lady. I have to act like a lady. This is what I need to be doing. Now I have the ability to have babies, so I have to be careful about how I'm conducting myself, and just all of these things. Whereas the boys around me were still playing like normal. They didn't have any of these issues going on. They didn't have to try to figure out, hey y'all, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. So just so you all know, I'm on both. So if I'm looking at one screen and it doesn't look like I'm looking at the screen, it's because I'm looking at both screens at the same time. But so at this time, boys are still enjoying their childhood. They don't have the stress of trying to figure out how to hide being on a period. Something that small, but it is a real big step in a girl's life. So from that point on, we're told to operate differently, where boys don't have that issue. They don't have a care in the world. They're not experiencing these things, but we're experiencing hormones and just different things happening to our bodies that we can't even explain, which a lot of times is demonstrated in our attitudes. And now people are so freely saying, hey, you PMSing or whatever the case may be. They didn't say that back in the day. It was discreet. You dealt with it and you kept going. But in those things that made a difference between the duties of a girl versus the duties of a boy. So our thought processes are more mature at that point, because we have to maintain this womanhood from an early age. And so therein starts the mindset of us being women, where boys can be boys, right? So now looking at those two different mindsets and those two different tracks, now it makes it more complicated for the girl. So now she has to do all of these different things. She has to be worried about all these different things and still look pretty at the end of the day, right? And so these are not things that boys are even aware of that is going on. They're just living their lives like ain't nothing popping, because they don't have to worry about these things. It even goes until when a girl actually gets pregnant, her body goes through all of these different changes, all of these different things. Even if she decides not to have the child, that's a whole nother stress that she has to deal with, because now it takes a toll on her body. It takes a toll on her mental. A lot of the times, girls or women, whatever, whenever they decide to have a child or not have it, at that time, if they decide to abort, they have to deal with the ramifications behind that. That's a whole nother ball game. And so it's not as easy as it seems, but think about, she's taking on those emotions from, okay, I was pregnant, now I'm not pregnant, now I feel guilty that I did whatever it is that I did. And so that's another emotion tacked on to her. And say she did it out of the fact that maybe the father didn't want the kid, or maybe she had other plans in mind and wasn't ready for the kid. So there are just a lot of different things that she starts carrying at that point. Not to mention, if she's in a relationship and whatever that relationship goes through, she's carrying those emotions. The emotion of whether or not this person accepts me, whether or not, I feel comfortable with this person in different ways. And then if the relationship is something that goes left, now you have to deal with that and say she was really into that person, and now, he's playing the field or whatever, because at a young age, boys are taught to play the field and to have fun and to date. And girls back in the day was told to them, be a lady, you got to settle down, you supposed to be a wife, you supposed to be these things. And that is what we know to do. So our mindsets are different because there are two different things being taught to us. So the thing that I wanted to talk about was the emotion that the strong woman takes on, and she is taking these things on at an early age. She is taking these things on, even when she looks at her mother and her mother may be going through things, she's internalizing these emotions and she's saying to herself, okay, I'm not going to be this way, or I'm going to be this way. And so all of these different things are going on, plus her own life experiences, plus whatever is happening throughout the course of her life. And then she takes it, and she's let's just say 25, 26. By this time, she has taken on so many things, has dealt with so many different issues. Let's add maybe sexual abuse to the mix. Maybe she was sexually abused. So now she has to deal with those types of issues. Why did this happen to me? What's wrong with me? How do you even function after this? Is it okay? Am I safe to be in a relationship? Am I safe to do this and that and the other? So tack that on top of the other things. Not to mention, okay, now she has to work a job. So she has to deal with trying to figure out how to perform in the workplace while dealing with all of these other emotions from previous situations, from personal situations, from relationships, from whatever abuse and trauma she experienced. And now she has to function in the workplace. So at what point do we question, is this woman okay? We usually don't. We just are like, whatever. And a lot of times, men don't even understand where the anger, the aggression, the lashing out comes from. But those are the things that stem from dealing with all of these different emotions, all of this different baggage, into whenever they meet that person. So now they don't even know how to be because of all of the different things that they have gone through. So understanding, the first point is understanding the strength within the woman is deriving from disappointments or pain points. So things that they have went through, those failures, those struggles, and the need to feel like they have to be well put together and perform. And a lot of times women are not acknowledged unless they're performing, unless they're doing, they have to go get like 20 million degrees or get a 6-figure income, or all of the kids are taken care of. They're making sure that everybody in the household is taken care of. Their spouse is happy. Whatever it is, it's like one performance after the next just to keep up with life. And it's like she's doing these things and trying to keep it together while maintaining being beautiful, while wearing a ton of different hats and still producing. And then from that point on, when you look at this woman, it's like, oh, she's the best of this, she's that, because she's performing. But is she truly happy? And 9 times out of 10, no, because she's not taking care of herself, and no one is telling her to stop and take care of herself. And even dealing with my own struggles with different things that I have had to deal with in life, I learned that some of the things that I was operating in was out of the anger and aggression that I felt from being in different situations, in the past. And so for me, though, because I wanted something different, and because I was like, I'm not going to let past situations define me, I've changed the way that I look at my relationships with people, my relationships with men, and my familial relationships, because I want to do things differently, and I don't want my pain points to trigger somebody else's pain point, or I don't want to blame someone for someone else's action. So I try to be cognizant of how I operate so that I'm not operating in that vein. But that actually takes a lot to do, because you have to analyze how you're operating on a regular basis, right? You have to check yourself on the things that you're saying. So it takes work, but it is very possible. But that's not to say that I don't struggle with being the strong woman, taking on too many tasks and not taking time for me, or feeling guilty for taking time for me, which is a lot of the issue that a lot of the times is the issue that women deal with, is that they feel guilty for taking time for themselves, and that should not be. And so I think that we need to have this open discussion about self-care for the woman, and helping her to understand that she doesn't have to perform at all times, and it's okay to put herself first while she's, going through whatever it is that she's going through, to address her issues and all of these different things. So I'm going to pause. If anyone has comments, you can put the comments down in the box, and then we can talk about them. So the other thing is, where do we get this strong woman mindset from? We get it from the people that we've seen demonstrating it. Our great grandmothers, our grandmothers, and our aunts, and all of those people in our lives, we've seen it. And the trauma that they dealt with was not even a thing. Like, we didn't even know what they were really dealing with. And some of them were dealing with trauma from slavery. And I think that that's some of the trauma that we're still actually dealing with today that's not being addressed. But having their families ripped apart, having to breastfeed master's babies, being raped by master, being sodomized, objectified, and all of these different things, and then having to still be mama, be wife, and do her job. So these things have been ingrained and embedded in us from way back when, and we think that this is something that we have to do. We have to take all of these things emotionally and then perform. Well, we've been impacted. As we can see, a lot of the relationships now are not lasting that long between couples. There are a lot of angry black women that are being portrayed, right? There's an imbalance when it comes to our male, female roles and dynamics. And so it's like we're not able to function. It's like we're crumbling. And so I would also ask anyone out there to offer up suggestions as to how we can be better, do better. I also think that we need our men to help us to do this, because if men have a better understanding of what we are dealing with and what we are faced with, I think that the approach will be different. But we're too busy taking on so much, and we're not communicating the things that we're actually feeling. One, because we don't want to seem like we're weak, which is such a issue. We're always concerned with not looking weak. We have to be strong at all times. Even in our communities, we go around as men and women having to be strong, having to look strong, have it all together. So technically we're both performing. But this conversation is actually for women. We'll talk about men and how you all perform actually around Father's Day, so next month. And I actually want men to come on and actually have the conversation so that we can get your perspectives, because we want to know what you all deal with as well. I don't want this to be a one-sided conversation, and we're not addressing both sides of the issue. Men are dealing with the same issues, but we are taking on more emotions than most men. I will say that. A lot of us carry a lot of emotional baggage, a lot of everyday baggage, a lot of multitasking, a lot of comparisons, just a lot of different things, and we're not functioning as we should, as we are meant to, you know. So again, if you all have any comments that you want to say, or you want to contribute to the conversation, just drop it down in the box below. So what we're talking about is understanding the strong woman, the strong black woman, where it's coming from, where we're getting these ideas from, and to know that it's not okay to be strong all the time, to know that self-care, it should be a priority, to know that it is okay to take time for yourself to relax and recuperate from, or decompress from whatever the day is or whatever the situation is. Just finding, whether it's 5 minutes a day or 20 minutes a day, finding that time to just have peace within yourself to talk through different situations. If you meditate, meditate. If you pray, pray. But during that time, to have a oneness with yourself, that is a must. So I will put that out there. If anyone else has suggestions for self-care, for just contributing to, the mental stability of a black woman, the strong black woman, you can drop that in the comments below. So what I was talking about before was the demonstration that we have to care for others. So that part has been really embedded in us, like from the beginning of time. I don't ever think that I've seen my grandparents, my grandmother, my great-grandmother do anything differently. My great-grandmother, and I'm just gonna tell a story. My great-grandmother helped take care of a lot of grandchildren, okay? There was a lot of us, well, great-grands. There was a lot of us. My family is pretty big. So my grandmother had 11 children. From there, just about all but maybe 2 or 3 had 3 children at a time. So that's a lot. Like, that's a lot of bodies. And so they made sure we were fed, we were clothed, we had toys. Some of us all grew up in the house together. They all cooked for us. They just made sure that everything was, that we wasn't missing anything. So I've never seen or heard them complain about doing anything. And it was a whole lot of us. Plus their own children and their own needs. So that's a lot to deal with. I don't know how they did it, because I'm getting a headache just thinking about all them bodies. So I don't even know how they were able to feed everybody, to clothe everybody, to pay bills, to go to work, I don't know how they did it. Like, that's a lot. And still performed, still, looked good, still dressed nice, went to church on Sunday, gave praise to God, tithed, whatever they did, they still did it. And never heard a complaint. She's saying, we feel like no one cares. We are taught not to pity ourselves. Society and media has created a perspective that we don't suffer like others, or we do it to ourselves. We do. We can't complain. We do it to ourselves. But we do it to ourselves because that's the model that's been put before us, though. It's like, just like I said, I never saw them complain, and I'm 36, and my great-grandmother died about 11 years ago or so. Never seen her complain. Who is this? Okay, someone's requesting to be no, I'm not gonna do that one. I'm gonna cancel that. That one looks a little questionable. I'm not gonna just drop your comment below. But they never complained. They went on with their lives and did what they did. But I don't think that by looking at them, I don't feel like they had a full life. Now, they may say and my grandmother did say that, she was happy with her kids and all of these things. Like, they were happy with just having a family. But outside of that, I always wondered, what did they have other goals? Like, did they have other dreams, other things that they wanted to do that they winded up not doing because they were too busy trying to juggle everything and perform? I just wonder. I would never know, because now all of my grandparents are gone. My mom's mom, my dad's mom, and my great grandmother, they're all gone. So I don't know what they would say today, but from the last conversations, they were okay with just being around the family. Now, my dad's mom, that's a different story. She's a different kind of woman. That was the feisty woman who was gonna do what she wanted to do, how she wanted to do it. Now, that was a different kind of woman. So there were two different mindsets going on that I grew up around. So my mom's mom and her grandmother were the ones that I saw with all of the grandchildren, all of the great grandchildren, feeding everybody. Everybody was under the same roof. Everything, all of the needs were met. I don't think that we ever knew what lack was, probably until we got grown. But we didn't know what was lacking in our lives because they just made everything look so good, right? But there again, they didn't take care of whatever their own needs were because they were too busy taking care of us. Whereas my dad's mom, she lived her life however she wanted to. She was going out. If there was a party to go to, she was going to. If there was an event being had somewhere, that's where she was. So she was a different kind of grandmother, especially for back in those times. But she did what she wanted to do, and I don't know if she even had any regrets, but she dealt with some things too, which made her strong in her own right. She dealt with some relationship things, and I saw those things translated as I got older. There were certain things that she wanted that she was silent on that she didn't get. But because I spent majority of my time with my mom's side of the family, I got to see a lot more than, my dad's mom, who, because she was out clubbing. I don't know. the lady, she was on her own page. But for all of them, they all had their different strengths. They all, dealt with their own things their own way. But now looking back on it, it wasn't functional. Like, they were just performing and then dressing up, looking good, and trying to put on this show for everybody. Like everything is just A-okay, and it was not. So the other part is the strong woman being misunderstood. And that is a part of, and that really actually comes in, especially when she's dating, because men are getting the backlash of those strong woman situations. And what makes us stronger than the disappointments that we go through, the issues that we've had to, go through, all of those different situations that I was talking about earlier, from the time that you as a girl start your cycle from on up to having a family or giving birth to children, or if you decide to have an abortion, all of those different things, and then on top of that, you're dating. And how do you articulate that into the relationship? Like, how do you have a healthy relationship, or even know what a healthy functioning relationship looks like at that point? It's like, who's telling us how to do this? Who's having these conversations that's saying this is how we should be operating as women in order to have and cultivate healthy relationships with our kids, with our spouses, with whoever? Like, these conversations really need to be had. And so, hi everybody that just joined. If you have any comments, just drop it down below. Hey y'all, hey. So, all these different things, and I believe that the strong woman is the one that is misunderstood. and it has been taken for granted because of her giving heart, her giving spirit, and the fact that she does so much to take care of so many others that she does not put the time or the care into herself. I was actually looking at this article that was talking about I see you, Mick. Somebody say, hey, Mick, not everybody. Yes, I see you. How are you? So this was an article, though, that was written by a man. He did a review on a book called Black Women and the Burden of Strength. And so this is what he said: to be a black woman in America is one of the hardest realities to live in. I don't say that with a full understanding of the experience. I really have no clue and probably will never understand this reality. But the main question I asked myself after reading the book was how? How is it that I have been raised by a black woman, raised alongside a black woman, and I am married to a black woman, and yet I miss the immensity of the plight? Sure, growing up, I seen glimpses of the struggle, minor glimpses, but these glimpses were never properly interpreted by my young black male eyes. You could even say I was passively and willfully blinded by the appearance and illusion of the strength exhibited by the many black women I've been around. And the first thing he says is, his first point is that the black woman is taken for granted. And so this thing right here, like, a lot of times men don't even recognize the difficulties in being a woman. They only see the difficulties in being a man, right? Just like we see the difficulties in being a woman, but we don't really take the opportunity to see the other side of how men feel or how what they're going through. So for this brother to actually sit down and actually assess this is a really good thing. I'm actually going to link it in my bio so that you all can look at it and read it in your spare time. But this was actually a great review. The other thing that he said is, when he talks about the for granted part, he says, make no mistake, the strength that many black women possess is no mere illusion. It is the realest. And as a son, brother, husband, co-worker, friend, and a man, I firstly want to apologize to my sisters because I haven't taken the time to understand what it is like to be in your shoes. I have taken your strength for granted. I have celebrated it. I have benefited from it. You've held me down in every area, but I often failed to reciprocate the same strength that you've shown to me and countless others. And that is actually one of the things that I wanted to touch on, is that some of the dysfunction and the anger that men are seeing is that the black woman is saying, I'm not being appreciated, I'm not being recognized, I'm not being loved properly. And if I'm doing all of these things to make your life easier, where is the consistency from you? Where are you constantly filling in the gaps for me so that it makes my life easier in turn? And because men are like, well, I got to do this, I have to do this, it's like dismissing what the woman is saying and how she's feeling. But that's something that actually needs to be paid attention to, because it could possibly make your relationship better by listening to the things that she needs, which is actually one of the things that I was talking about 2 weeks ago, about the needs and the wants of your partner, and actually listening to those things and understanding the needs and the wants, which can actually make the relationship better if it's reciprocated on both accords. So for those of you who just joined, if you have anything that you want to discuss, just drop it in the comments below. We are talking about understanding the strong woman, the strong black woman, because that's the only perspective that I have is the strong black woman. But right now, we're talking about the take it for granted piece, where a lot of black women are feeling that they are being taken for granted. And so it is being projected on black men like no other, where we are saying that there are not any good men, all black men are liars and cheaters. That whole spewing of hate for our men is coming from the fact that strong women are not being recognized and not being appreciated, and are being taken for granted, because they are putting in a lot of work. There are a lot of women that are putting in a lot of work in their marriages, in their relationships, in being mothers and being co-workers, employees, sisters, aunts, whatever it is that they're doing, you name it, they're not feeling appreciated for all of the things that they do, unless there is, a graduation at the end, or like Mother's Day. That was the day that mothers were appreciated, and that usually is the only day that women are really appreciated for being a mom. But what outside of that is the appreciation for the black woman, period? Like, where is that appreciation? And I think that we need to get to appreciating one another. But in order to do that, we have to understand where we're coming from. I think that we need men to listen to us, to listen to our the things that we are dealing with, and we have to learn how to be vulnerable enough to express those things and not feel like we are being judged or we are weak in our thinking. And any man that makes you feel like you're weak for expressing the things that you might be going through is not the man for you. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna leave that right there. Or partner, whatever, whoever you decide to date, marry, if your partner does not see you, does not understand you, does not support you, and in your time of being vulnerable, that is not the person for you. You need to head for the hills. That's all I'm gonna say. But in vice versa, men need to be able to do the same thing. Now for us, yes, our emotions are suppressed. Yeah, we have gone through a plethora of things. And we are still producing, wearing all these different hats and looking cute in the end. And a lot of us are not even looking like our situations, which is amazing, because a lot of us have gone through a whole lot of stuff and we don't look like nothing we've been through. I know I don't. So, back to the understanding part. We want to be understood, but we also have to understand the plight of the man, the strong black man. So we're going to get into that too. In around Father's Day, we're going to do that. And we're going to talk about the different stereotypes surrounding men. We're going to talk about the hats and roles that men play and wear, and how they keep things together and how they're taught just to suck it up, because we are actually being taught the same thing in different ways. Men are not able to express themselves. where we're given more freedom to express ourselves, but historically we've been made to feel guilty about that expression. Men are actually made to bottle it up and not show any type of emotion, which in turn is unhealthy. So we have two unhealthy things going on at the same time, and then trying to function with one another or be in relationship with one another, and it is quite difficult right about now, because neither one of us are healed from the traumas, the emotional issues, we weren't seen at a certain point, or we were abused at a certain point, or somebody took advantage at a certain point. Those issues have not necessarily been addressed. So the first thing that I will suggest, because I'll throw out some suggestions, is to first take inventory of those things that you have been through. It's okay to take inventory of all of the things that you've been through, because sometimes I think back on all of the things that I've been through, and because I'm spiritual, I am Christian, I will be like, thank you, God, because he brought me through a lot of stuff. So and I'm not where I used to be. So that's the other part. But I would say take inventory of all of the things that you've been through and look at those things. You got to face those things head on, and then say to yourself, I am not those things that I have been through. I am not a victim of whatever the circumstance was, whether it be neglect, whether it be rape, whether it be just mishandled in any part of your life. Just say, this is not me. This is not what I've been through. Like, I'm not that person. And leave it right there. The next part is to do the work so that you are not angry, not bitter, and you don't take the situations that you've been through into your relationships with other people, into your, maybe you got married, into your marriage, into your dating life, with your children. Maybe your parents weren't the best parents in the world, and it might have, hurt you to your core, and now you don't know how to be the best parent to your child. Well, looking at the things that you wanted and needed as a child is the first step, and then saying, I'm not gonna be that, and then take steps every day not to be that way. Those are just some suggestions. Even for the woman that has to take so many things on, start your day with you time. I do it about 20 minutes. I talk to God in the morning. I have a conversation, and then I pray. And I even talk to God while I'm taking my shower, put on my clothes. So it might be longer than 20 minutes. Might be just an hour. But that's the goal. The goal is to take 20 minutes a day. Then that's my me time, where I'm preparing myself. I'm talking to God. I am reflecting. I am looking at the things that I need to do different, the path that I want to go, all of those things. Before I go to bed, I have notes in my phone. I keep notes, a little bit like a journal, and I just jot different things down that I want, and that is my time, right? I also, take time to go get my feet done twice a month, or get my nails done. That is the time where I totally decompress. So those are just some suggestions for you all to do. If it is, you have your hair washing time where you go get your hair washed, or whatever it is. If you sit in your car, I used to do that. I used to sit in my car for an hour before I came in when I was working downtown. that was my time to decompress. Um, there, when the weather is decent, going for a walk, that was another thing that I would do. Just to relieve stress, to decompress, to think about, different things. Those are just suggestions. Those were things that I did, but she's saying I get up an hour earlier than my family, drink my coffee, read my book in peace and quiet. Yeah, that's actually a great thing to do. Now, I haven't mastered getting up and reading a book before people get up. That I ain't mastered that part. But the meditation and the praying part is something that I consider my me time. So what you are saying, that's actually great. Getting up earlier and having your coffee and reading a book, whatever helps you to gain some sanity, to have some you time, to reflect, to just know that you are human. That's the other part, having grace for yourself. That is something that we are not taught. We are not taught to have grace for ourselves, and that we're human. We're going to go through things. We're going to make mistakes. We're all figuring out this thing called life. There were some mistakes made with us. Our families were figuring things out too. But having grace for our situation, saying, you know what, I went through this. It's not my fault that such and such happened. But now that I'm aware, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to take these steps. For some, counseling. Now, I will say I've done counseling. I'm not the biggest fan of the counselors that I had. One was more like trying to be like girl, like my friend or whatever the case may be. And it was like, I came here for a session. We not friends, but that's a whole nother topic for another day. But, she did make me realize some things that, so I'm going to just say this before I get off of here. When I did that counseling session, I actually did a couple sessions with her. And at that time, I was trying to decide whether or not I was going to actually go through with getting married. So a few years ago, I was engaged. A couple years ago, I was engaged. And I was trying to figure out if it was something that I really wanted to do. Because I had been engaged before, but I never actually went through with it. I always called it off and was like, this is not for me. So this time I was actually deciding whether or not I was going to do it. And she was looking at me like, girl, what's wrong with you? Why are you even questioning this? And it was like, well, for me, I, never had the thought in my mind, even as a kid, that I wanted to get married, right? So I was the odd person that didn't have a white wedding dress planned, or the, all of these different things that girls plan and pick out. I didn't do none of that. I just wanted to make money and, do my own thing. And that was the goal. So as I got older and I was dating and guys proposed, and I was looking like, that ain't what I'm trying to do, yo. It's cool. I ain't trying to have no family right now, though. Catch me later. That's sad to say. But it was my own choice. That was my own decision. That's what I wanted to do. So, I had to be talked through this. Like, I'm like, is this what I should be doing? Because I never wanted to do this, but now I'm thinking about it. Maybe I do want to have a family. Maybe I want to do something that I've never done before. And so she was like, why are you doing it? Who told you that you had to do this? And I'm like, I thought about it, like, I might want a kid, you know, I might want to have a husband. She was like, so what are you scared of? Like, where's the fear coming from? Like, explain to me what stopped you before. And I was like, well, when I was a kid, you know, even though I never really experienced a true lack, there was some things that I could not have. And so in my mind, you know, we didn't have it. And it was because, you know, my parents had kids. You know, they was married. So in my mind, it interpreted as, okay, you have a family, you're going to be broke. You can't afford these things. You can't do this. And she was looking like, what? So by her look, it was like, girl, you jacked up. You took that interpretation from that. But low key, I did. And I didn't really like realize it until she and I was having a conversation. But also some things that I had gone through contributed to the fact that I was scared to have a kid, because I felt like, well, what if they go through this? Or, you know, maybe the relationship that I have is not going to work. Like, I had all of these things going on in my head, and I actually needed somebody to kind of filter through that, because I'm a Virgo. We think a lot. Like, my mind goes a million 1 million down the expressway. Like, that's my mind. Even when I'm sleeping, it's still going. But she actually walked me through a few things, a few different scenarios, and had me do like a little work. So what I am saying is, sometimes you might have to seek out therapy. It's not a bad thing. Don't let anybody tell you that it's a terrible thing to go see a therapist. It does not make you weak. We all need somebody that's going to filter through all of the nonsense that we have had done to us, have gone through, and some of the thoughts that we have in our head, some of our unhealthy behaviors, all of those things. We all need somebody to work through those things so that we can be healthier people, so we can be happier, and we can better function and live better, you know, because ultimately taking on all of these things and wearing all of these hats and being strong all the time essentially breaks your body down, because you're not focusing on your health, you focusing on everybody else. And so that's actually one of the things that I have learned in this season of my life after losing my sister, that I had to take time for myself, which was not something that I necessarily did before. I had so much stuff going on. So working a 9-to-5, I was engaged, taking care of someone else's child, helping my sister, helping raise actually my siblings, helping my mom, what else? Going to school, working on a master's, then working on a doctorate, started 2 businesses and an app all at the same time. A lot going on, a lot of crazy. Yeah. So your girl understands taking on a lot, plus dealing with my own pains and trauma. And so that's a lot. So in this season, I have learned to take time for myself, and it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to say you're not okay. You don't have to have it all together all the time. Don't let anybody tell you that. If anybody makes you feel like you have to have it all together all the time, I don't care if it's family, friend, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, you need to take a couple steps back, because you need somebody that's going to be supportive, be in your corner, encourage you through the ups, the downs, and all of those different things. And sometimes you might need them to walk you through the little crazy that you got going on in your head, because a lot of us got it going on. So Did anyone else have any comments? Anything they wanted to contribute? I'll give it a minute. Okay. And with that, that is my time. I've actually been on here for about an hour. And so I want you all just to start just taking inventory of the different things that you've been through, working through those things, taking time for yourself, male or female. I will say that. Make sure that you take time for yourself. If it's at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, wherever you need, if it's lunch, you at work, take that walk, however you do it, because we want you here, we need you here, want you to be whole, want you to be healthy, and want you to feel important. We don't want you to feel like you're being taken for granted. If you are in relationship with someone, talk to that person about helping you through certain things. If you have that type of support, hopefully you do. Family wise, if you have family that you can talk to about these different things, or maybe have somebody that you're accountable to that you can check in with about your mental health and whatever else you may have going on. Hopefully you have that one person. If not, you can always DM me. I got some words for you. I'm ready with the words. But with that is my time. I will see you back here next week, same time, 7:00. I will start telling you all the topic earlier so that you all can know what's going on. And if you want to come on, you can also DM me and say, hey, I want to come on. If you have suggestions for topics that we should talk about as a community, you can also DM me those topics. So you all enjoy your night. Bye.